everyone, welcome to today's explainer.
If you're learning French right now, you've probably figured out that what you memorize in a classroom doesn't always match the reality of what you're going to hear on the streets of Paris, Lyon, or Montreal. So today, our goal is to help you ditch those stiff, robotic textbook greetings. We're going to completely master the authentic, nuanced ways native speakers actually ask, and far more importantly, answer the seemingly simple question, "How are you?"
Here's exactly what we're covering today. First, the big textbook mistake. Second, formal versus everyday French. Third, sounding like a true native. Fourth, when you feel bad. And we'll wrap it all up with number 5, the golden rule. Et toi?
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the big textbook mistake, or ditching the most common beginner error. Because learning a new language so often means unlearning the direct translations our brains desperately want to rely on. Let's do a quick test of your instincts. Picture this. You're walking into a lovely little bakery in France. The baker gives you a big smile and asks, "Comment ça va?" What is the literal first phrase that pops into your head? Just hold on to that answer for a second, because we need to make sure you aren't about to make the single most common error in the entire French language.
Okay, so if you thought to yourself, "I am well," and then translated that word for word in your head to "je suis bien," you got to stop right there. This is absolutely crucial. In French, you do not use the verb être, meaning to be, to describe how you are doing. Saying "je suis bien" is completely incorrect in this context. The French language strictly requires the verb aller, which means to go. Literally, you have to say "I go well," which translates to "je vais bien." It's just a tiny shift in verbs, but honestly, it is a massive shift in actually sounding correct.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 2, formal versus everyday French. It's time to put the classroom head-to-head with the real world.
Asking how are you in French depends on age, context, or personality. For example, in a casual way, you will ask "Ça va?" or "Tu vas bien?" The expression "tu vas bien" literally means "is everything okay?" French speakers use it when they notice someone looks worried, tired, or distracted. It's a way to check if things are truly fine. As I said, addressing people depends on age, context, and personality. For example, I personally never use "ça roule" because it's too casual for me. It doesn't match my personality or the way I speak. I would associate this expression with a young man wearing a cap. Some French people love casual expressions, others prefer neutral or polite ones. So the expressions you choose say something about who you are. When you don't know a person or in a professional context, you will use "Comment allez-vous?" Comment allez-vous? Here are some ways you could answer. In a casual way, you will say "Ça va et toi?" Super! Pas mal. Pas mal means not too bad. In a more formal way, you could say "Ça pourrait aller mieux." It could be better. In Caribbean or West Indies, they say "on fait aller, on fait aller." In a more polite way, you can add "thank you." For example, "Je vais bien, merci." I'm well, thank you. Très bien, merci. Et vous? Very well, thank you. And you? Assez bien, merci. Quite well, thank you. Pas trop mal, merci. Not too bad, thank you.
It's where it gets nuanced, and this trips up even really advanced learners. Thanks to some incredibly fascinating insights from native speakers over on the r/French Reddit community, we can see the real difference between these phrases. Je vais bien is actually surprisingly personal. It refers specifically to your own physical or mental health. But ça va bien? That's much broader. It covers your general state of affairs, how things are going at work, or even how your family is doing. If someone asks how your family is, you say ça va bien. Absolutely not je vais bien.
You can also say "ils vont bien."
Let's keep that momentum going into Section 3, sounding like a true native. It is officially time to upgrade your vocabulary and inject some high-energy slang into your everyday conversations.
I'm going to give you a rapid-fire list of creative, native responses you can use to express that you're doing it incredibly well, and you won't even have to use the boring word bien once. Ready? You can say, au top, which means you're right at the top of your game. You can say en pleine forme, meaning you're in great shape. How about impeccable or nickel? Both of those essentially mean flawless or absolutely perfect. And for a really casual, cool vibe, just throw out a ça roule. Literally, it means it's rolling, but it translates perfectly to all good. Oh, and I absolutely love this one. If you want to add a real touch of cultural humor to your greeting, use comme un lundi. Literally, like a Monday. It's this highly specific cultural phrase that just perfectly captures that universal dread of going back to the weekly work routine. If someone asks how you are on a Monday morning and you're just actively mourning the end of the weekend, just give a little sigh and say, come on, lundi. I promise you they will instantly understand.
Now, what about the tough days? That's Section 4, when you feel bad, and the reality of complaining in French.
Think about this scenario. You're having a completely miserable day. Nothing is going right. And suddenly, you run into an acquaintance who cheerfully asks, ça va? You are instantly caught in a classic conflict between honesty and social convention. Do you actually tell the truth, or do you just lie to be polite?
Well, here's how you handle it. With close friends, absolutely be honest. You can say, bof, pas trop, which means, meh, not really. Or you could go with, non, pas très bien en fait, meaning, no, not very well actually. But listen to this. Users on the RC Conseil Relational's Reddit forum heavily advise that with mere acquaintances, it is definitely best to stick to positive routine answers first. Don't trauma dump immediately. Let the conversation open up naturally before you drop the bad news. And hey, one massive warning here. Comme si comme ça is everyone's favorite textbook phrase for so-so, but natives practically never use it. Seriously, just drop it from your vocabulary completely.
All right, we have arrived at Section 5, the golden rule, Être. This right here is the unwritten social contract of French conversation.
Check out this incredibly powerful anecdote from a thread over on the R Social Skills subreddit. A user shared a story about being confronted by their oldest friend. The friend told them, I always ask how you are, but you never ask me. It's not nice. That is a serious wake-up call. And it proves that this greeting exchange isn't just some polite throwaway formality, it's a genuine emotional touchpoint between two people.
Because of that, we have the golden rule. Whenever you answer the how are you question, you absolutely must bounce the question back to them. You do this by adding et toi for informal situations or et vous for formal ones. Honestly, failing to ask this makes you sound incredibly selfish to a native speaker. It is the absolute golden rule of the how are you dance. Oh, and by the way, it's et toi, never et tu, which is a super classic beginner mistake you want to avoid. We have covered so much ground today, from unlearning je suis bien to totally mastering the simple intonation of ça va, upgrading your vocabulary to cool slang like nickel, and cementing the golden rule of et toi. So I'm going to leave you with this. The next time you walk into a cafe and someone says salut, ça va, are you going to sound like a dusty old textbook, or are you going to respond like a true local? Take this new vocabulary out into the real world and show them what you've learned. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.
I want to encourage you to book a one-on-one conversation lesson with me. In these personalized sessions, we take all the method and tips we just talked about, put them into active practice. I'll be there to help you correct your word order in real time. I'm going to leave you with this beautiful French proverb. C'est en forgeant que l'on devient forgeron. Practice makes perfect.